Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. Is confidently wrong. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Wesley.
Hello, Savon.
What you
We got the full crew in the studio today, the virtual studio, because we're all in different places. We have an interesting smushed together pod today because we're going to be talking about Eyes of Wakanda and another animated series that's very different. Well, it's a movie, K-pop Demon Hunters, which has been kind of taking the Netflix world by storm. It's number one on the movie list when you look at their number one list. So we'll talk about those two things today. Eyes of Wakanda, it's a four episode kind of short form. Savon called it an anthology that focuses on different characters in Wakandan history, and then and in different time periods, and then all the episodes came out all at once a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, and so we've been kind of checking those out. Or was it this week? I don't know. Last week, I think. So let's get into it. We're gonna try and make the connection between the two. So we get this kind of anthology series, really letting us know or giving us just more peeks behind the curtain into Wakanda and how it's operated throughout history, especially kind of their version of CIA, which is the War Dogs. So what was your impressions of it going in? What were you bought into? Savon, what was your initial interest?
Well, as soon as I learned this was going to be an anthology series, I was already immediately bought in. Again, I've said on this pod for years how much I love an anthology series. I love just somewhat.
Is that true?
I think so. I mean, I think I talked.
Don't ask me. I'm not a member. I have bad memories, but
Why you question?
I don't feel like that's true. Fact checking here. Fact checking.
You can't be like, I have nothing to base this on, but say, I don't think that's true.
I don't recall this.
Though that sounds very American.
I'm pretty sure last episode I was talking about liking anthology stuff. We're talking about the Predator stuff. Anyways, see, now
you did say you like Predator and how they should do it.
Now you threw me off kilter.
I'm sorry. Redo. I'm sorry.
Forgot what I was saying. Sorry. What were we talking about?
Anthologies.
Before that.
Wakandans with eyes.
Thank you, Brian. Once I knew this was going to be an anthology series, I was all in. I love the stories that can have a bunch of like tight, self-contained stories. Maybe they tie together, maybe they don't. Usually there's an interloping theme. We got that in this. My big question was really more of a what's the animation going to be like? I think Disney Plus left a bad taste in my mouth when I saw the end of What If Season 2, where I could just tell there were reused assets. Some of the animation just wasn't doing it. There were certain points where the animation was beautiful, like when you had, Mjolnir Storm and all that fighting the Super Ultron. But then there were other episodes where I'm like, this budget feels so inconsistently used. And that really kind of left a bad taste in my mouth regarding the show. And Eyes of Wakanda did not have that issue. The animation is beautiful. And that really, I don't want to say it carried it, but like they took full advantage of the animation format to elevate and make this show better to watch, and it fit the themes of the show and just the visual storytelling. But this was a visual treat. I knew I'd like the premise and the anthology, and at least when we talk more, my expectations were very much met and some, but I went in excited for this.
Brian,
I knew next to nothing about this series, but I knew we were going to watch it. I knew I was going to watch it. Eyes of Wakanda, hell yeah. Anything to extend the lore of Wakanda, I think is always going to be something interesting, right? Like you just want to know how does this fictional nation work in context of the rest of the world that the MCU exists in. I honestly did not realize going into this series that every episode would be in a different moment in history entirely. That was such a huge and wonderful surprise to get us to think about, what is Wakanda as a nation? How does it function in the world across time? And we got not only the past, we also got the future. So this has been a very surprising and fun series to see.
Nice. I didn't have any I guess knowledge or interest going into it, so I'm coming in like as a blank slate. And actually I've only seen the first 2 episodes and a little bit of the third one. So we're gonna try and do it not super spoilery, so that people can have their chance to watch it. But there's gonna be some spoilers in here, I'm sure. So if you're really dead set on no spoilers, for sure go check it out and then come back to us. It's probably about 2.5 hours of watch time, something like that. So
We're doing
you
no
can knock that out.
spoilers.
You
I
can knock
think
it
it's
out.
2 hours.
We're
I
doing
don't think
no
it's.
spoilers.
I don't think it's no spoilers, but keep
It's
them
only
light.
4 episodes. By the time it's out,
Yeah.
people had time to see it because we have Fantastic Four coming out before this one anyway. Yeah, all right. I don't let that no fun.
I think this one has not hit the zeitgeist yet. Well, let's try to sell them on it. If you're really into it, sell them on it. Why should the people see it? I 100% want to double tap the visuals, the super stylized nature of it, of the character design, and the fact that everything kind of looks painted. And they do really gorgeous things with like light and sunlight and all of that. Really, really works for the scenery and the settings and all that. And then some of it, the characters can just move in different ways because they're animated, which makes some of the fight scenes and chase scenes really cool. All right, so actually we have talked about the animation style because we were going to talk about that. Brian, did you want to add in your 2 cents on whether the animation was something you were vibing with?
Oh yeah, it is such a departure from What If. Like What If had that issue of just trying to like paint the animation on top of the live action movies in some cases, and I think that really restrained them a lot.
They didn't
And
know what they wanted to be.
and then so also
Well, they want it to be like the movies, I guess.
in addition, like a lot of the animation felt stiff, and that might be a product of this process of using the movies as a base. So that is all gone with Eyes of Wakanda, right? This is just pure CG animation, cartoonish in a way, but it felt more like I guess from an art direction standpoint, it felt more like Prince of Egypt style. If you guys remember that animated movie from a long time ago,
it was very stylized,
very stylized,
figures.
a lot kind of like elongated figures. But what really works in this series, I think, is Wes, what you pointed out is one, just like the lighting, right? Just like how gorgeous the lighting is. Like it's so cinematic. I could easily see any of these episodes being expanded into its own animated movie, particularly episode 2, which takes place during the Trojan War, and the Trojan horse is part of it anyway. And then on top of that, you get really gorgeous action scenes throughout every 4 episodes. And part of this might be the fact that you're only making 4 30-minute episodes, and they get to just pump all the budget into what really is top-notch animation. I'm not being I'm not exaggerating by saying like this is movie level. Like it really is. It is extremely cinematic. So that's definitely a nice treat to come out of this series.
And tonally, like the first episode, okay, like when I saw the fights, I'm like, as I watched the first episode, right? Okay, artwork, beautiful, lighting, beautiful, visual storytelling, even the lion making you think, wait, what's going on? They're panthers. Is this like a precursor? And then you learn, oh no, it's a splinter group and all that, right? Like all of that was great. But for me, the real like, oh shit moment was when they're fighting, and it's not just a fight choreography, it's when you see on-screen deaths and you're like, yeah. And there was a moment where that first of the Lions like international guard gets killed, and you're like, oh shit, they just set the stage for what the tone of this series is going to be. I thought it'd be some clean, someone gets struck but there's no blood, or they get struck down and it's off screen, they cut at the last second. No, people are getting sliced, diced, on-screen deaths, lose eyes, take grievous injuries. But that tone, like, it was a good tonal choice that made Brian, the beautiful choreography work that much better because you felt like there was more stakes and weight. It's not just cartoon characters flipping around and no one getting hurt. People are getting actively killed. The numbers are getting whittled down. Characters on all stories are taking injuries that's actually like, oh shit, like I'm getting hurt. How do I adjust what I do throughout this fight? And that's in every episode when there's action. Even in episode 3, right? Like Brian, when our 2 friends are fighting in the artifact room, it was hitting the piss out of them. Like I'm watching the fight, like, yo, they are getting punched and kicked hard, like to where I could like, oh, are you gonna kill them? But
oh yeah.
I think that
was on the table throughout the series.
Yeah, it's on the table. Like the stakes were high because people got hurt, people got killed. And so when you see these characters doing stuff, you really feel that sense of danger because you didn't feel like there was this aura of plot armor around them. I thought in the first episode, okay, she's going to do all this stuff and nothing bad's going to happen. I'm like, oh man, this just, she didn't get the artifact. She lost an eye. She got her eyes exposed to the world. It was, the stakes were very well done. And that's not just them doing animation. That's just good visual and writing storytelling. But I really wanted to hype that up because that was when this show, that pushed the show over the edge to me. I'm like, oh, cool. We ain't like pulling punches on this history and people dying and this spy espionage shit. All right, I'm all in. Like we're taking the kitty gloves off.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like comedic though. It wasn't The
gratuitous.
Boys or Kill Bill. It was just, there was some level of violence to it.
No, it was just, this is war. Characters are fighting to they're fighting to the death. Like they're playing for keeps, and they didn't. That really, this ain't no. It's not you've defeated me. Next time. There is no next time. I've killed you.
They play the series straight up too, right? Like it's not jokiness, none of that. And,
no, I don't think there are any jokes.
Episode 2, a main character gets killed. Spoiler.
Yeah, but we don't say which main character. All right. There was in all of these 4 episodes, how did you feel about the actual stories themselves? You could talk about, on the detailed level, or you can just talk about overall. I think it seems like there's some aspect of, there's usually a war dog or something, at least from the first 2 and maybe even the third one, where they're trying to retrieve an artifact that escaped Wakanda somehow and bring it back so that Wakanda can maintain its secrecy and its unknownness, invisibility. I don't know if that continues in the third and fourth one, but that seems to be kind of the trend that they're going for. And so we get to follow like how did they actually go about that as individual, spies and agents and stuff. Brian, what are you thinking of the actual stories?
So yeah, and so like to take that a step further, right? Each Wakandan spy gets sent out into the world in a different period of time. So I think in episode 1, it's like Crete era, Mesopotamia kind of era of the world. Episode 2, I mentioned, is the Trojan War. Episode 3 takes place in like, I want to say it's like 1400 AD, and also different parts of the world, right? So episode 3 is China. I mentioned Crete, Trojan War, that's Greece, ancient Greece. Episode 4 takes place in the late 1800s in Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything of historically what was going on there. So these are interesting pockets to throw an agent of Wakanda into, who's obviously not making it known that they're Wakandan, not making it known what their true goal is in these places. But they have a serious role to play, right? And so there's some deception going on. Of course, there's thrills, there's secret spy movement, fights, chases. You get all of that here. I think, but similarly, because it's an anthology series, each one of these episodes is kind of standalone, and so the series kind of deals with the same issue that What If deals with, right? It was like there are going to be some stories that maybe you're clicking with a little bit more than some others. And because these are also 30-minute episodes, you're not going to get a ton here, right? So I think what the show has to struggle with is that short duration length, but telling these stories that I think are pretty rich and have like so much dynamism going for them. Like this is not just like run of the mill like Saturday morning cartoon thing. You can tell that the creators of this are putting a lot of thought and effort and care into these stories, but then they're trying to cram in a lot in 30 minutes. And so that's why I kept thinking like, oh, I would love to see episode 2 as its own 2-hour movie or 90-minute movie or something like that. There's an element of like, I wish I just got a little bit more. I wish I got to be around these characters more, or I wish maybe this one character in particular story got to play out an entire season of Eyes of Wakanda as its own story. And then next season we follow a different war dog.
We want more of episode 2, bro. We want more of Memnon, all right?
Absolutely.
He was like, and this not even to denigrate the other characters. He's the best
buds
character.
with Achilles from the Trojan War.
He's the best character, and that's not shade to the others who were also awesome. It's just, to your point, the downside to anthologies is that you can have one episode that just stands out above the others, and that's not shade to the others. It's just when you tell different stories, certain things click better. But I will say, which I guess we can't because of spoilers, but I thought the through line between the 4 episodes really elevated all of them, I think, proactively and retroactively. And that's what I think, Brian, elevated a lot of the stuff for me, because I was a little sad that we only got 4 episodes, but the way they connected it all together and had those consistent themes and even references to previous episodes, I thought was like, that was the enough connective tissue for me for it to kind of like rising tide elevate it all together, especially by episode 4 where they really bring it together. Which I kind of want to talk about one of my impressions of the show. And Tony and I were watching this. I was watching episodes 1 and all of it, but my biggest impression after the first 2 episodes was kind of like, hey, yo, Tony, am I tripping? Or is this like, the Wakandan government kind of suck? Like that was my biggest takeaway. I'm like, yo, y'all kind of suck, bro. I felt bad for your boy at the end of episode 2. I'm like, this man is literally going through like veteran PTSD war crisis, like finding his place because y'all done made this man an agent for 10 years and betray all the people he close. And her answer is just, okay, you want to go back out in the field as long as I know why? I'm like, that's not what this man need right now. He's having an existential crisis.
You got all the technology in the world.
Yeah. Or even
you can't help this guy.
Yeah, even the first one, right? Like, I felt like my impression early on was like, yo, the Wakandan government kind of sucks. The whole isolationist, the whole all vibranium is ours, especially in episode 3 where you really start to push that like that idea of the cultural ownership. By the end of episode 3, I straight up told Tony, hey, yo, Tony, I love these individual Wakandan agents. They're dope. I do not like the Wakandan government. Like, I just straight up say, hey, yo, they kind of effing suck. Like, they're literally the Wakandan CIA, and the CIA is evil. So, like, I don't know. Historically, there's some they're not the good guys. And, all the lying, betrayal, and it's like, I know y'all hype up this whole, if other people get the vibranium, it could be the end for us. I'm like, dude, y'all are the most powerful nation in the world with the advanced tech. Somebody else getting a sliver of vibranium is not about to be the effing end of y'all. Can we stop the fear mongering? Like,
yeah, that's some like America type shit, isn't it?
I literally was talking.
We're
to
gonna
Tony.
hoard all the AI, so none of you countries can have it.
When me and Tony were talking about the show, I said, babe, what if everything Wakanda's doing, this is just the American government? Hey, we have all this advanced tech, but F y'all solve your problems. If y'all get even a drop of it, we gonna come and take it, even if it's thousands of years later, because we have a right to it. And it's like, hey, man, and y'all like, hey, I know that they end up getting their shit together later in the timeline, but like, these Wakandans kind of suck. I'm not rocking with y'all. And to be clear, and again, spoilers, like, I did feel, Brian, I've never felt more vindicated towards the end. I was just like, literally looking at Tony like,
see?
The most validating shit ever. But the way that they told that story was really, really dope. And the way that they connected it to the main MCU timeline was absolutely great. This was just that. Once you gotta watch the rest of the series, because I feel like the really good thoughts about it don't start until you get to the end of episode 3 and 4. I think that's when the real,
okay.
Like, I don't know, Brian, do you agree? I feel like episode 4 and the conversation of Wakandan's ancestral ownership of all vibranium really becomes a topic on the back end of the series, and I think that's when you really start to like have some reflections of like, hey, the Wakandan government might suck, but how does that tie into the end of the series and then where eventually we go with Black Panther? And again, I thought that was a beautiful through line. You got to watch the rest to see it. But I like that Eyes of Wakanda made me not like the Wakandan government. And I think that was an intentional choice, because I think other folks, I don't know, do y'all feel the same way? Did y'all come out of this kind of like, yo, y'all kind of suck, bro?
I think that's part of what makes the anthology work, is that you come in knowing what Black Panther went through, right? And dealing with this, do we stay isolationist or do we work with the rest of the world, right? And so when you see all these war dogs go out there into the world doing anything and everything just to obtain a necklace of that has vibranium in it, all those questions about, oh wait, so this is what they're about, that comes to the forefront and makes for some interesting reflection about whether or not Wakanda should be doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, which again, episode 4 did a great job of giving us the exact answer. They were kind of on the nose of like, there is an answer to that question, because we see by the end, which I was like, yes, thank God. But
Ryan Coogler is the executive producer of this series.
Yeah, but it's just nice to be able to question some of the I'm glad we get to look at the Wakandans in a more critical light, but also in a nuanced light of the good and the bad. And that was just you don't get a lot of that.
In episode 1, I also want to call out the big bad in that. I forget his name. Is he the lion?
The lion, yeah, the lion.
The lion. So like the lion is a war dog who has strayed from his path from Wakanda and is trying to, go outside and bring other people of the world into his sphere, right? So that they can unite. That's a great villain. I want to learn more about that character, right? That, and just that idea, right? Because like Wakanda has a tight leash and tight grip on everybody and all their citizens. But here we got a stray war dog, and he's trying to buck conventions. Yep. So, again, it's just like one of those things where like, ooh, that's a whole season.
Yeah, and
that's
he's not the first, right? Like, it even puts into context the war dogs you see in the movies, because I believe it was it Njobu? Killmonger's father, who Sterling K. Brown played in Black Panther 1, like, he was a war dog, right? His whole point was to be in Compton in the West Coast and scout shit out and do the Wakandan spy stuff. And like, I like how we got to revisit that theme of Wakandans getting to see the outside world, and it transforms them in a way that makes them question everything that they ever knew. And like we see, it turns out Killmonger's father wasn't the first one to buck, to your point, to buck convention. Turns out this has been a historical theme, and we can see how far, the good, the bad, the ugly. You have people like him who got killed in Compton wanting to help the poor black folks in America when he saw their struggles and hated the isolationism.
Was it Oakland?
I believe it was Oakland.
Yeah, it was Oakland.
It might have been Oakland, but no, I know West, LA. And then what is the who was T'Challa's like spouse, who he ended up the mother of his child? I forgot her character's name.
Lupita.
Thank you.
Nakia.
Lupita's the actress.
The character Nakia, same deal though. She's a war dog too, but same deal. She's a war dog who ends up falling into the humanitarian work and saying, "Man, I can't be out here in Wakanda. I want to help people, and I can't do this whole just we locked up in our own little bubble thing." But again, those connections were great. Of like,
and T'Challa comes there too.
Yeah, him too. Yeah, which again, you gotta
episode 4.
You gotta see episode 4.
I kind of agree. I really wanted to see more of Noni and the lion in that first one. Like, I wish there would have been more episodes around them. And it's kind of drawing, right? Because you go from episode 1, which is a self-contained story, and then you jump to episode 2, which is another self-contained story. And you're sort of wondering, like, wait, is this going to be related to the other one? And it really isn't, in terms of like the actual events that happened in the story. Noni does show up in the second one as a much older person, but she doesn't have a lot to do in that episode. And I don't know. I mean, obviously it's an anthology, and that's how it was designed from the beginning, just to be like these vignettes of these times. But sometimes it's kind of annoying, or it's disappointing when you're invested in, oh, this character is kind of cool, or this character is doing cool stuff. They hint to other parts of their lives or other events that have happened in their lives, and you want to see them, or you wished, instead of them telling you about them, you would have actually seen like what happened in their growth and changes over time. So both, I think, a curse and a blessing for how they designed the series, that they made us really cool characters that we're into, and then also, like, we're kind of like, but we wish we got something more from it, but that's not what it was, and that's not what it was trying to be. So Savon always says you can't judge a fish by its ability to fly. So we'll accept that, I guess. Sav, did you have any more thoughts on terms of the macro micro story?
I'm gonna be honest. Everything else of value I have is spoilers. Like, okay. This really is like the meat of this show. Really is in the back end. Like,
all right,
the really good shit.
Make sure you stick with it, is what he's saying. If you're gonna,
can I just say like pseudo spoiler, but not really, because the way Disney Plus like uses the image of the Iron Fist in the banner for episode 3, so like it before you even watch it. But I just want to call out that they dropped the Iron Fist in episode 3.
It was
like, how cool is that?
Good. It was so well
in 1400 AD China, like, and like, just also that idea is cool to think about. Like, there's been a Black Panther throughout history. There's also been an Iron Fist throughout history. And maybe they teamed up in the Middle Ages. Like, come on, that's cool.
Yeah, no, anytime you have a mantle and you get to just see mantles of it throughout history, that's always, it's always dope as shit. And ever since we opened this can of worms, I gotta say my piece.
Say it.
the high point of even the third episode was that the whole point is this Wakandan agents trying to get back some vibranium. That's every episode, except it's a statue being worshipped by this in this Chinese village, all that, and Iron Fist is trying to take it back. But it opens up a very interesting combo of the Wakandan agents' mission is, hey, I need to get this vibranium back at all costs. It was lost, stolen over 2,000 years ago, and the Iron Fist, who was stolen from, rightfully says, it's been 2,000 years. It means something different to the people now, and it opens up a very interesting conversation of what does cultural ownership of artifacts and substances mean? What's the line that draws? Where do you draw the artificial lines of ownership? Can you argue that the people before the Wakandans have access to the vibranium? Or, it was a very honest question that they opened up that gets answered towards the end of the series, but it does open the question of, hey man, these agents are doing this and this is what they've been groomed and raised to believe is right, but hey, do y'all have a right to all of the world's vibranium? Even if y'all believe you do the ends justify the means in which the lengths you're willing to go to get it? Which is kind of the bigger question of the series is, okay, y'all can believe the vibranium's all y'all's. To what extent are y'all willing to go? Are you willing to lie, cheat, kill, use your people to betray all this stuff? And, that's the question us, the viewer, has to kind of reckon with, and eventually the Wakandans ultimately do reckon with. But that was a real pivotal turning part in the series, because I think the first two episodes kind of makes you as the viewer come to your own conclusion over, are they right in them, how heavily they're pursuing this vibranium? Maybe episode 1, it feels like they're right because Homeboy is out here actively enslaving people, but even then his government kind of betrayed and lied to him. Like, they don't, it becomes less clear as the passage of time goes on, and frankly the Wakandans are getting more removed from that vibranium they have. You see them using spaceships and communicators and shit, but they're also flipping out over a shard of vibranium necklace in another country. And I think that was a very kind of clear juxtaposition of Homeboy healing himself and sending texts and shit, but then also like, I'll kill my best friend in war over this vibranium necklace because that's what my government told me to do. And that's, episode 3 really makes you start to question, like, hey, I don't really know if the war dogs are good or if they're justified. Yeah.
The battle over you're saying the battle over like the same artifact and how different people could make different claims to it and it means something slightly different, but it's important to both, cultures. Makes me think of Jerusalem, which like no one wants to talk about, but it makes me think of like that sort of idea, right? Of like multiple cultures and religions claiming importance over certain historical and religious sites.
Yeah, I mean, wow, there's no right answer to it. It's all just a very moral philosophical question. But I'm glad that the show didn't lean away from that, because even in the movies, I'm like, y'all got all this vibranium, y'all have a literal mountain. We've seen them with train cars and shit. But again, you get a nickel's worth, and they're ready to run up in your crib, kill your whole family, run up in your shit, all that over because it's ours. So it's a very much a have. You can feel the haves have-nots energy, almost like, frankly, the hoarding of wealth. To like, it starts. I'm serious, but you start to be a little critical of them. I'm like, hey man, y'all aren't the good. Y'all are kind of self-righteous, and hope y'all get to eat crow. They do.
I think. Well, I mean, this is also coming from like the first Black Panther, but I see it in terms of, we know what happens when Western civilizations end up exploiting other places or other civilizations for their resources, and time again that has not worked out well for the group with the resources, but has like tried to make peace with or tried to work with another civilization. Like, they just end up getting conquered and colonized, and then their resources are taken. And so I sort of get the like,
watch episode 4.
This is the inclination given like, I haven't seen episode 4 and
finish the series
based on like what they talk about in the movie and in the first Black Panther movie. All right, let's wrap it up there. What's your rating? I won't rate it since I haven't finished it. And who should watch it? If you got a recommendation on that, Brian, you got a rating for it?
I mean, if you like the Black Panther movies, you gotta watch this. It's like the extension of that part of the MCU, and I think it really does a nice job of filling out this picture of what Wakanda is. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think it's top notch in a lot of ways. Its biggest drawback is its founding
You want
conceit
more.
is that these are 30-minute episodes, so you just like not you're not going to be able to explore things in the kind of depth that they deserve.
Sav.
I give it a 9 out of 10. Animation was great.
Okay.
9 out of 10. Or yeah, I give it a. Or I guess going to the letter system, I give it an A.
An A.
I give it an A. It was entertaining.
High praise.
It was a relatively like tight watch. Didn't drag on. Didn't feel like you needed to spend weeks watching it. So, it's not like it was a slog to get through. 4 pretty tight, concise episodes that covered a lot. Animation was great. The story was great. The through line was great. Didn't have to do any homework or have any pre-knowledge. If you've seen the first Black Panther, it makes the 4th episode hit different in a good way. But even if you haven't, it's still, you can appreciate it. Like, I see this as like my mom could sit and, I don't think she's into animation, but my mom could sit and watch this knowing nothing about really Marvel, MCU shit, anything, and appreciate the show for what it is and what it's trying to tell. Which
could she? I don't know, because
like, why are they going after this necklace?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Look, all you but this is the thing.
She doesn't know what vibranium is if she's not into MCU.
You don't need to. You can watch this as just a show that's about just like a Afro futuristic fantasy show. Like, you're looking at it through the lens of a Marvel show. This can literally just be about a fantasy series about a magical African nation that has advanced tech. You don't have to, they've never had to explain the vibranium. It's a metal they got to let them do all kinds of dope shit, and they never tried to.
They don't really explain that in the movie or in this series, whereas they did explain it in the movies.
They absolutely do. They make it pretty clear. Vibranium is a metal we have. It lets us have all these dope weapons. That's all you really need to know. He stole vibranium. You know it's dangerous. Like, the barrier of entry to this is pretty much the floor. Like, because it's not like what did they reference? What did they reference from Marvel that you need? What did they reference from Marvel?
Iron Fist.
You don't need to. Yeah, but you don't need to know
really.
who Iron Fist is.
You don't
all you know is that they're a badass warrior. The point they're trying to make with the character, you don't need any background knowledge to understand. He stole from the village. They mention a curse or a hidden protector. You see who the protector is, and they start wrecking shit. Like, you don't need background knowledge for that. Like I said, the only background knowledge is the first movie, but it's accessible. It's good. Animation's great. Story was good. Stakes were high. I would love to see more, but also I'm a fan of quality over quantity. So if this is what we could get with what they had, then, I'll trust their judgment just because they made a good show. So I'm assuming if they could have done more, they would have. And if they felt like doing more would have been to the detriment of the show, I'm just going to trust their judgment of what they delivered.
I like that you guys rated it highly after having seen the whole thing, because I feel like after the first 2, I'm kind of like, this is like a B minus. I don't have to I didn't feel like necessarily compelled to finish it, but if you're like, hey, it really pops off in 3 and 4, then
we should have talked spoilers. Then we could have sold you on it.
No, but I'm glad you didn't, because now I get to go see it, and like my interest is piqued, so I want to go see it. So
I think episode 2 is the best episode, and episode 3 is kind of like the most fun episode.
No, that's right. It's the most fun.
Yeah. It's
I've seen a little bit of it. I meet the
I
prince.
4 deepens the series.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a sum is greater than its parts type. Then look, Brian, that could not have been a perfect summary of those episodes. Of like, I love them individually for that reason, but because of the through line, they all are retroactive. I think the 4th episode makes all of them retroactively better. 2 being the best story, 3 being the most fun to watch.
Yeah. Right. And one in a way is maybe the weakest episode. Because
weakest or weak? Because I feel like that's different. Is it weak compared to the others? Okay, but you still consider it very strong, high quality. But if you gotta compare,
it's interesting. But yeah, it doesn't hit the way the other episodes.
I guess it's establishing the war dogs. You gotta establish
You gotta establish shit. There's a lot to do. Yeah, not enough time to do it.
No, I like that first one though. I like the lion. He was cool, and then I like Noni as the character of like she's not quite like you understand she's not quite your typical Dora Milaje. She's not quite your typical Wakandan, and so she ends up sort of right for this role eventually as her mentor kind of tells her. So I don't know, I kind of like that it establishes that you've got to have a little bit of a revolutionary streak in you, right, or a different kind of thinking in you in order to be in this organization.
Their rank and file shit is challenged throughout the series. Like that rank and file fall in line good soldier shit starts to get challenged throughout the series more and more, to where by the 4th episode, one of the main characters' whole thing is an inspiration from what she said. At this point, what, Brian, has it been millennia at this point? It's got to have been over 2,000, 3,000
like 2 millennia, basically.
It's been thousands of years at this point. So like, it's very much the benefit of that time thing is that you get to see how certain, like, you could see the literal reverberations of her exact words in episode 1 ring later 3,000 years in episode 4, which that's That shit's cool.
It's cool. Yeah,
It's like,
cool.
yeah, because it's like,
I
it
know
feels
where
authentic.
that came from.
Like, she said this thousands. He's like, she did say that. He's not
All
wrong.
Right. Let's switch gears a little bit to a very different type of animated property. We got K-pop Demon Hunters, which came out on Netflix about a month and a half ago.
And Wes has been dying to talk about this.
I have been dying to talk about it.
His pants have been soiled for weeks.
Yikes! No, it was something that I did not know was coming. It wasn't something that was previewed or that I saw any kind of trailers for. It had made its way into one of the top lists on Netflix, and then I started seeing a bunch of people talk about it online. So I checked it out and really enjoyed it. And then I was like, hey, why don't you guys watch this? I think you guys would be into this too. And we all ended up watching it. So now we finally get to talk about it and see, you know, how did we actually feel about it? I don't know. Me and Brian have kind of pre-talked about it a little bit, and it kind of sounds like Brian isn't a big fan, but maybe we'll see what he says as we get into it. So I thought this movie was
Wes is a Saja boy now, basically. TLDR, guys.
Wait, I'm not a demon. I'm not a demon. What I think this movie, maybe we should just describe what the movie is, because it's kind of weird, and then not weird, it's unusual, and then we'll get into maybe some more spoilersy things. Seems like a lot of people have seen it, so I don't know that there's going to be as much craving for a spoilers free version of this, but just know, well, you know, if you haven't seen it, maybe go see it. Maybe we'll try and not give away everything that was in
Since we're a spoiler free pod now.
I don't think we're spoiler free. I just think, you know, you got to be mindful of whether people have seen it or not seen it, you know, in general. This one having been number one for a long time on Netflix probably means a lot of people have seen it at this point, would be my guess. All right. So anyways, Sav, do you have a good way to kind of summarize the movie for people who maybe haven't seen it?
Yeah, I suppose.
A little premise for us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm supposed to live, Brian. Like, that's my bit today. No, no, but the premise is that in this world, demons are, and specifically in like the Korean context, like demons are real creatures. They exist. They try to fight and steal human souls. There are singers, or there were ancient mystical musicians who could use the power of music to basically create a mystical musical shield that keeps these creatures away. I think it was called the
As you're describing it, I'm like, this is dumb, but keep going.
Well, I guess if you just are a curmudgeon who don't like fantasy, yeah, sure, everything's dumb. But demons are real. They use the power of music that creates a shield that protects them from the demons. And then in a really cool twist, because they use the power of music that creates this mystical force, they are actual like K-pop musicians that have been doing this for other people have done it for generations, much like them, and they use their music to fight off demons. And so,
but they weren't K-pop stars.
Yeah, they weren't.
They were other musicians,
but they were musicians.
Yeah.
So the point is, their global status as K-pop stars actually directly ties into their capacity to fight demons, because the power of their music on its actual global record scale directly plays into them defending the world from demons. And then the fun part of that is like they're very fully aware of it. They're badasses with weapons and shit who can fight and do all kinds of cool stuff. And they also, while having dope K-pop music careers, fight demons. But yeah, their music basically protects us from the demons, and they gotta, you know, have this successful music, and they fight them on the side, and it's just a lot of
it's like the more
take that, grow a goofy anime aesthetic on top of it, and you have the fun ride that is this movie.
Do you think this exists in the same universe as Sinners?
Haven't thought about it. I'm not sure.
You know, it's making more sense the longer I think about it than less. Like, you know, some shit you think
let's make that canon.
Some shit you think about it, it's like the longer I think about it, the dumber this idea seems.
Isn't
the longer I think about it, I'm like, oh crap, the power of music, connecting people throughout generations, having mystical effects. Oh God.
I think, but it's the opposite.
All they needed was a breakdancer.
The K-pop music, or the K-pop demon hunters, their music holds the demons out of our world, whereas what's Preacher Boy, his music brings the demons into the world. So
maybe there's the Irish guy doing,
and there's different kinds of shit. Maybe you was just a demon with a real powerful gimmick, but
maybe
Brian, that's holding more water than I'd like it to admit. Way more water than I would care to admit. But
all right,
that's the basic premise of the movie. They're musicians who also fight demons. Very silly, fun, you know, over the top premise.
And I don't think that premise is what made this popular, because it's obviously a little bit, you know, flimsy as just like its own little thing. But the thing that really I think drew me in as I was watching it was just
That you
these.
love K-pop.
Well, I actually don't know anything
That you're
about
a
K-pop.
BTS fanboy.
That hey, it's possible. That's my secret. My alter ego is into
That your
K-pop, I
favorite color
guess.
is Blackpink.
I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I have heard of what. Wait, what was the first one you said? BLT? No,
Yes,
BTS. Sorry,
that's my favorite K-pop band.
BTS.
I could go for BLT right now.
I've heard of BTS, but I don't know what else you're talking about. I don't know anything about K-pop. I do know people are into it. Some of my students are into it actually as well, and I'm like, oh, how did you guys get into it? But it's like Savon says, it's got some global appeal, a universal appeal. I do think there's two things that work in its favor in terms of it becoming really popular. One is it's kind of got this really cool, not really cool. It's got a really it has a story that's based around a character embracing who she is and trying to figure out how that fits into a role that's been pre-prescribed, which I think a lot of people can relate to, and I think a lot of women in particular can relate to. And then it also has this very catchy pop music that I've been listening to on repeat off and on for the past month or so. Even Kaya likes listening to the music, and she hasn't seen the video at all. So I think those are the things that really kind of rope me in and have probably been the touch points for a lot of people watching it, I would imagine. Is there something, Brian, that you particularly thought was something that people really latched onto is why this is kind of becoming more and more and more of a global phenomenon? In fact, Savon says they're going to do a theatrical release coming up here soon.
A sing-along version where you can sing along in theaters.
Oh,
They already greenlit a sequel. That's also coming through.
okay. So obviously this thing has some legs. So what
They cut
gives
some
it
parts
legs?
out the
Because
movie.
it does seem kind of like a silly, like, oh, this should just be like a kids movie for like 8-year-olds or something. And but why has it? I mean, to be number one, you're actually pulling in adults at this point.
It's
And a wider range of audiences. You're pulling in guys, right, who didn't maybe seem like the target audience.
yeah, like if this were just a Korean, or not even Korean, but just an animated kid-friendly movie called Demon Hunters, it's not doing gangbusters the way it is, right? It's that the K-pop on top of it that really makes this movie sizzle, draws a ton of appeal, right? And kind of like, because K-pop can be infectious, is a big part of, I think, why people enjoy this movie. Because one thing about it, right, like even though it's got this fantasy story going on, it's got this at its heart, a story about identity and your place in the world and whatever, and acceptance, but stylistically it is 5 music videos, maybe 6, of like banger type K-pop tracks, right? Like exactly what you would expect from like a big or the biggest K-pop band, right? They're putting that music front and center and telling the story in these kind of vignettes throughout the movie. It's almost a musical of a movie, right?
Yeah.
But
it
just
is.
so happens that the genre has like some like hard beats, really like catchy hooks, and then the music video aspect of it is combination dancing and fighting, and like who doesn't want all of that, right? Like it's just like the type of it's like the type of mashup that somebody in a boardroom came up with, and they're like, let's just like spin the wheel of things that people love, right? I was like,
and put them all in one movie.
I feel like you're
Anime,
saying it like it's a bad
K-pop.
thing.
Sometimes that stuff works, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
well-
like we're gonna put cake and ice cream together because
Yeah.
people love each of those things, separately, but together, awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Can I build off
why
that
not?
thought, Brian, a little bit?
Go for it.
So I agree in terms of all that you said, but here's the real kicker, and I think this is why the movie works. It's not just that it brought together a bunch of shit that people like. It was done earnest. It was done like you could tell that this was made like sincere. Like this didn't feel like a soulish cash grab.
Yeah,
This
it's not
didn't
a cash
feel-
grab.
This didn't feel like we're just throwing some bullshit at you and we'll hope that you'll like it. This movie was so thoughtfully made that like, and that's what I like most about it, is that I'm not the target audience remotely, but you can tell when some shit has some soul in it. And this movie has tons of soul, and I think that's what endeared me most to it, because I don't care about K-pop, and I was reading about the production of this movie. They busted their ass making sure that the music was like, they weren't trying to make like some knockoff K-pop shit. They wanted their shit to really feel like honest to goodness, real deal K-pop you hear on the radio. You know, it's like you can tell when a movie has a musician, and you can tell this song feels like a song made within a movie rather than like a honest to goodness real song. The music felt real as hell, and even me, I don't like no K-pop, but that whole movie, I'm banging my head, I'm bobbing my shit. They've been doing the little Sasha Boy shoulder shuffle. I'm like, that shit kind of, they kind of. I'm like, this shit nice. To your point, Brian, the music being combined with the choreography, so I'm watching them do all kinds of cool demon fighting shit and all that. But I think the biggest thing that this movie did that really pushed it over the edge is the animation style. It is so fun. It's silly. They do these ridiculous visual gags, and they do it with like the women in a way where I feel like other media doesn't let their conventionally attractive looking female characters get to just be so goofy and funny and hilarious. There's scenes where the girls are making these ridiculous faces and their eyes are going different directions and
couch.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm like
eating the ramen.
Yeah, eating the ramen. I'm like, it was ridiculous, but it's like I felt those moments felt very authentic and real, and I think those are the moments where kids watch that and are like, yo, man, because that's really how young kids and all that be about food and shit. Like, they're not trying to be cool. They weren't trying to be cool, and their lack of coolness and authenticity when they weren't on stage made the characters even better because they're just trying to gobble up food, chill on the couch, bullshit. They got the one workaholic friend. I'm like, that dynamic felt very authentic and silly. When they see the hot boys and their eyes turn into corn cobs that overheat and then bumps into popcorn.
Yeah.
The popcorn is going into a bowl that the other friend is actively eating out of to show them thirst trapping over the dudes. And I'm like, yo, this is so... I don't know who's behind doing these gags, but like, these are people who are authentically about that shit and really putting their heart and souls into the movie. And that really... I think they earned my trust in the movie very early on, and that made me know that even though this movie is not for me, I was along for the ride, and I went in kind of just giving them a lot of positive regard of like, oh, okay, I'm just here to enjoy this film and what y'all do because I see what y'all going for, and there was never really a point where I was disappointed.
Now, maybe it was for you then.
Now, there were
good movies are good movies.
A good movie is a good movie, but you can still recognize when I'm not the target of it. But like, it was
you still might have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but you can enjoy something and not be the target. But it was, and even though there were moments where I'm like, okay, they clearly left some shit on the cutting room floor. There were definitely some plots like they clearly wanted to explore more about like who was her father and the half demon bloodline, and there's definitely stuff that they didn't put into the movie that got cut out. But like, and that could be a knock on it, but overall it was an earnest movie, and I feel like audiences can sense authenticity and honesty, and I think that really had this movie. It gave it that grassroots feel of even people like us saying, "Oh, let's watch it," because it didn't look like bullshit. Like, it looked like something people cared and enjoyed about making, and it shows. And it might not be perfect, but that goes a long way.
And this was a Sony animation product, the studio that brings us the Spider-Verse movies. And so shout out to them. They really understand where animation needs to go to continue to be relevant and interesting, authentic, and have sizzle, right? Like
sizzle.
They're just doing things that other animation studios, at least American ones, aren't willing to do, right? Like all these other animation studios are just like, we're just gonna copy Pixar as much as possible and do these like kid-friendly things and nothing out of the box. Meanwhile, you have Sony Animation just going all out, right? And they created a look for this particular movie. That popcorn thing is probably the best example. And you're just left like floored by it. It's just delightful to watch. It's funny, and you're like, wow, I really don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, and you immediately get the bit.
Maybe it's
like
an
such a
anime
good
trope
visual
that
gag.
like, things like that happen, but yeah.
I mean, it's just a good visual gag. The joke was just like, all right, popcorn gets hot thing. They hot for the boys. Let's just don't make it deep. It was just they were having fun. They were clearly just like, I don't know. I've watched a lot of animated stuff, and this was a very unique hodgepodge of tropes and visual stuff, and also keeping it fresh because it still had that like 3D effect to it. Like, it just they just were very creatively pushing this movie. It didn't feel creatively stagnant. Is that what I'm trying to say, Brian?
Yeah, for sure.
It didn't feel stale. It felt like they were trying new shit, and for better or for worse,
creatively blue-balled.
Yeah, it wasn't like they weren't playing it safe. That's the best way to put it. They weren't Because some
Agreed.
of those gags, they could be like, oh, we're gonna have the girl just shove the sushi down her mouth. Yes, because they're hungry and they're animals, and that's how they eat shit. And let the memers meme. That's what we doing. I'm like, hell yeah.
I was kind of bought in.
She snipped it like she snipped the sushi line, like she really did it like line of Coke style. Just I was like, this is amazing.
I was pretty into it once. One of the opening scenes is them on the plane, and they realize all of a sudden, like, oh, these demons are actually controlling the plane, is they have to fight them, and then they skydive into their performance in the stadium and kind of do like a superhero landing, and then just start the performance from right there. I was like, that's a pretty wicked entrance to kick off a grand global musical tour. It sounds like there was a lot to like about this, and kind of made sense why this has become so popular and why I was into it. I think for sure, even if maybe Savon wasn't a huge fan. Would you have any notes? I know, Brian, you can sometimes be a cinematic, self-described elitist snob, perhaps. Would you offer
self-described?
Oh, wait.
Excuse me.
That's for a living. This is literally his profession. Hey, gonna disrespect Big Brian like that? Hey, B, I ain't gonna let him talk to you like that, big dog. That is an award-winning director.
He's experienced. He knows what he's talking about. He's got some expertise here.
I got a shelf full of glass.
That man called you an amateur. You said this is just your weekend hobby.
I got crystal.
Wait. Before, I wanted to say that to defend some animation in the past, we have talked about Blue Eye Samurai, and we have talked about Arcane. And then certainly, right, we have a lot of respect, I think, for Avatar, The Last Airbender, and the shows that are related to that. But so I don't want to say that all American animation has been this generic lack of imagination. But
I'm talking about specifically like this target.
You named the good ones.
This target movie, right? Like for young adults or even younger kids, a movie CG style animation, right? Like that is a very specific product, and has a very specific look. Like DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar, they all look the same, right? So this is unique.
This has been a little bit of a criticism, I think, of Pixar recently, like with Elio and Luca and those movies all kind of looking the same a little bit. So
also, is that adults just criticizing shit for kids? Like, do kids care about that?
No,
were we kids getting worked up about the Pixar and all that
Probably
art
not.
style?
But they feel the vibe, you know what I mean? Like kids really mess with Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah,
I've seen it.
No, good shit is good shit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't think kids are getting upset about the animation style over it. I think this is adults getting worked up over shit for kids. But to your point, Wes, adult animation, there's definitely a higher standard of like the visuals, because those audiences, frankly, are more discerning, especially if it's a visual storytelling. Not like a cartoon sitcom where I think it's the opposite, but like when it's clearly meant to be the animation is the draw, then and it's for adult audiences, yeah, there's always a bigger focus on it being really, really polished and stylized. And to your point, Brian, something marketed to kids, they tend to not. You don't have to do that as much because kids are a little bit less particular about that. But the extra care still shows, and the movie is better for it. Like you didn't.
And I
have
think
to do
that's
the visual
why
gags, but like it made it better, and that's the bold creativity that you probably want more of. So, like, yeah, I think we're all a little right here.
I think that's also and I think that's also how you know this one had visions of being more than just a kids movie, right? Like they do want to make it have enough depth and enough character and enough like polish to it that adults did want to watch it, and I think that's what happened. I mean, I feel like the people I've talked to have seen it, really liked it, and they're all adults. I'm not talking to a bunch of like 8-year-olds in my life being like, hey, did you like K-pop Demon Hunters? Like, I just don't know that many. So the people I know who have enjoyed it have been adults. So it does have some appeal across age groups.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess the best way to look at it is that a good musical is a good musical, right? Like I say this as a guy who hates musicals, but like the musicals I like, it doesn't really have to do with the genre of music in the movie. It just has to do if it's good, right? Like you can give me a country musical. I don't really care for country, but if the shit is good, then I'll appreciate it. And the good is good. Same with K-pop. I don't give a K-pop, but every song on that shit was a banger. Hell, when they were talking about, hey, this song is a diss and doesn't feel like our energy, right? And they're like, oh, this is the takedown. I was like, you know, this isn't y'all normal energy. I don't think this is y'all banger vibe. Yeah. Like, but I'm sitting here like,
this isn't right for you.
You know, as a Huntrix fan, I don't think this is a good look for you ladies. Y'all aren't. This is not how y'all actually get down. But I'm saying, but like the movie endeared me to their style. And even the Soulja Boys, like you can even feel that their music feels a little bit more empty compared to theirs. You can feel the little bit of theirs feels a little more hollow compared to
More
Huntrix, where they
bubblegum.
and theirs is way more emotional depth, and it's kind of reflecting their actual trials and tribulations in the story. Like the only real knock I got in the movie is that the story's kind of flimsy, but this movie was never really about I'm not criticizing a musical animation movie for not having the strongest story. That was never really what it was about. And there was the bones of a stronger story, but clearly they cut it for pacing reasons and all that. So if this movie's popular enough for us to get more, I would love for them to explore those, like,
Brian's ready to jump in here.
I mean,
can't we knock a movie for not having a good story?
I mean, honestly, it depends. Like, Avatar's probably the best example. The story isn't anything revolutionary. It's pretty, like, average, maybe, but all the other
Avatar Airbender or Avatar the Blue People?
Avatar the Blue People.
James Cameron Avatar.
Gotcha.
But like the stories have never been some
red people next.
Yeah, like the stories have never been some revolutionary change the game, but the fact that they're also fantasy nature docs is part of the appeal of you enjoying it. And so, like, the story, you have movies that have a good story, but it's still boring. The story's important, but I think you can have a story that's meant to be more of a visual musical experience, and then the story maybe is a little bit,
I hear what you're saying, Savon.
No, to be clear, this is a critique of the movie. The story was the weakest part. It was they were clearly parts that were cut out. There were clearly storylines they could have expanded more, and that was not the main focus. I'm just recognizing that, like, it sounds weird to say, but not every movie, the story isn't always the flagship portion of that movie. You still need to have something, but, like, this story is clearly meant to be, in my opinion,
the story did enough for me.
It did enough. It could have been better, but, like, this movie is, you're not watching this to say, oh my god, the story was amazing. You're watching it to appreciate really fun visuals, a music video, and top tier music production in a movie that, like, could be some real top 100 shit.
And I thought there was great characterization.
That's clearly what they put their energy in towards. And I'm not going to behoove them for not making a story movie when that wasn't really the main focus, even if it could have been better.
All right. Brian,
I actually disagree.
Give me some notes.
I think I don't think this movie was just trying to be like a one note, like, let's use fun music, right? Like, yes, that is their veneer that they're presenting, but I do think it felt like you said, right, there's a lot of care going into this movie. I think they put a lot of care into this story, right? I think they, the writers of this movie, the directors of this movie are really invested in the idea of the main Huntrix girl dealing with spoilers, the fact that she's half demon. And they were really trying to forefront that and give the movie more depth than just some passing piece of candy, a piece of content.
Yes.
Agreed.
And so the fact that it gets a little thin, especially towards the end. Like,
they cut out the best shit. We don't know about the dad. We don't really learn a lot about the mom.
Things just kind of resolve, right? Like all of a sudden, Huntrix is back with this new song, and they save the day, and it's just like wrapped up in a bow. And then also, I think,
agreed.
This idea about her trying to find acceptance of self, right? Like, they force the acceptance on her, right? It's not really quite earned by the end of the movie. And I think that can be a very powerful idea, but the movie has to carry on and hit the genre notes as well. So it's like, as an adult watching this thing, I'm like, that was fun, but did I get what I wanted out of it? Like, did it fulfill the promise that it set me up for? I don't feel that way. And actually, what's interesting, as I kept watching this movie, the more and more I kept thinking about better movies in this kind of sliver of cinema, right? I was just like,
what are you comparing this to?
Like, this movie is kind of derivative of a bunch of different things, right? Like it's like Turning Red is kind of the same movie, like thematically in a lot of ways, which is that the Pixar movie, whatever. And also there's, some of the cultural trappings are very similar, and the interest in, pop music stars, right? So not to say that Turning Red is a better movie, but this movie also kind of reminded me of Raya and the Last Dragon, which is a way better movie. And then because it just hits harder, right? Even though I feel like it has the same kind of target audience, similar things going for it. And then if you really want this specific thing of Asian pop star and talking about like kind of deeper issues, the movie that really hits hard is the movie Belle, which is a Japanese movie anime. And the music in that is to me is like truly fire. Like that is music that I will play. And I know Anna has definitely like worn out Spotify playing music from that movie. Plus, like story wise, it just hits on so many different levels, and is like undeniably good. Whereas
Don't forget.
this
Wait, you're forgetting one of the best cultural movie touchstones of our lives. 8 Mile. Similar.
8 Mile, way better movie. Absolutely.
Brian,
Eminem pants down in the factory. What could be better?
But Brian, what I will say with the story is that I know I was reading about how it was definitely a much longer cut of the movie that was made. Because to your point, those glaring story hole gaps, I don't think that's the result of them not having written it. It feels like it's shit got left on the cutting room floor, and I don't know if that was because here's the thing. One, I read about the deleted scenes and it was a longer cut of the movie, but also I just had to look up the runtime. The movie is an hour and 35 minutes. I could not agree with you more that they could have dedicated an extra 15 minutes of that movie to fleshing out a little bit of those gaps towards the end of the acceptance, or learning about a little bit more of the half demon subplot conclusion towards the end. That definitely undercut the story of the movie, which was building up to be a really dope self-acceptance theme. I completely agree they undercut that. I still think the movie's elevated by the story, animation, and all that, but it feels like an error that it just felt like y'all missed the mark on this, and y'all could have not missed. Like, I can see some stuff is like,
yeah, exactly.
Like sometimes
right?
it's like
missed.
No, but
You're
like
right
there's a difference between there's nothing y'all realistically could have done. Like the Mr. Fantastic thing we talk about Fantastic Four, like, all right, y'all in a rock and a hard place. Either you go bold and it doesn't look good, or you stay measured. And I'm like, okay, I get the push pull of that. But this is like, I don't know, man. Y'all could have spared 15 minutes to flesh this out. Like, the movie ain't got to be 2 hours, but like an hour and 35, while also not fleshing out the entire plot is like, hey, man, you could. I don't mind an hour and 35 movie, but if so, y'all need to hit everything in that short time if you're gonna keep it that length. An extra 15 minutes wouldn't have hurt. And to your point, Brian, I do think that little bit of extra elevating the story could have really pushed us from good to great, or from great to excellent.
I'm not saying you guys are like wrong. I think if you would have had 15 minutes and it was a great 15 minutes and it could have like made the movie even better. But I didn't feel that way. I felt like when I reached the end, I was like, that was really great. I enjoyed it. It was good. I saw like the growth of this character, the development of this character. I didn't feel like there were big holes in it, and maybe I was more smooth braining it than I should have, or whatever. But
yeah, it feels like a smooth brain movie, actually. And I think maybe that's my bigger critique.
Yeah, you kind of.
But I don't think it was entirely smooth brain, because they were able to throw in a little bit of depth and a little bit more that was going on, especially in the actual interactions between the trio were really good. The interactions between Genu, the head demon, or not the head demon, but the demon that we most get to see, and what is the main purple hair lady's name? Rumi. I thought those interactions worked in that they were filled with heart and tension, and also like a wariness between the two of them, that not weariness but a wariness, like they weren't sure what the other was really about, right? And they were pretty distrustful of each other. And so I don't know. I like that. I like that Genu had like a backstory, and then that backstory gets a little bit flipped, and he's kind of you're a little bit thrown off by where he's coming from, but ultimately you realize like he does have something more to him than just like a mindless demon, and more than just being a selfish like a-hole, even though maybe that is what he was at one point. So I don't know. I really did feel like all of that stuff was baked in, and it didn't hold your hand to the point where you're like, oh, this is just like too much hand holding into like thing. It was like they showed you all these things and in their actions, in the way that they worked with each other or didn't work with each other, and all of that made it feel like the movie treated its viewer with respect. Like it didn't just be like, oh, this is a kids movie, we're going to over explain everything. It just kind of lets you see it and get your own thoughts on it. So I think definitely walked away feeling really good about it, and I wouldn't I wouldn't have necessarily, or I don't necessarily feel like it needs those extra 15 minutes, even if, like you said, maybe it would make the movie even better. But to me, I was really happy with what we got.
I mean, I think they did those things right, but I think they just undercooked it a little bit. Like,
right.
I think what they were doing, like the characters and the actual storylines, I thought was good. You just gotta, I think they just undercooked it a little bit. And I think, if we're kind of go back and forth of whether they wanted you to smooth brain it or not, the more I think about it upon further reflection, we get a lot of time with Rumi reflecting about the whole demon thing throughout the movie. And I think that does kind of give us the idea that you're not going to smooth brain this a little bit, because the idea of demon hunters whose whole everything is music to stop demons is led by a half demon. That's not really something you gloss over. That's clearly a very pivotal major thing. And so, Brian, I do think it's a fair point of the other parts of the movie might sell it as a chill, turn your brain off movie, which, for the record, there's nothing negative about that. That's great. You need movies that are like that. But it is fair that if you pitch this as the biggest really underlying plot is that she's secretly a demon and has to reconcile that with herself and her team, and they build up to it, and that's the main thing, and they don't really stick the landing, I think that is a fair critique to say, hey, man, if y'all are going to go with some deeper self-reflection shit, you got to, do it right. Otherwise, you probably could have just had you probably could have just had you could have had the main plot just be that the Hoon Woon is damaged or is going to break and not have her be a half demon. And you probably still could have had more or less the same major plot points and plot beats without her being a half demon. They still have the final showdown and all that good stuff. But when you build it up as a self,
I thought she did. She came to this realization that she is stronger when she sort of just embraces who she is rather than worrying about being a demon, right? That that's when her power and she also gained power by connecting with Genu and having Genu being able to share her secret with somebody. That's when her singing became better, right? They made it clear that her singing had been faltering a little bit because she had been hiding the secret, and the fact that she's able to connect with somebody and share the secret with other people made it so that she started to build up her confidence, and her singing powers came back, right? So her embracing her demon side and being allowed to be that person increased her powers, right? And set her up where in the finale she can fully be this is who I am. I know that people know this about me now, and that's okay. The fact that we don't know her backstory, how she became that, I think that's also okay. That can be explored another thing, or it's just that's just the situation she was dealt, right? And we can fill in the blanks on our own, or they can do it for us in another movie.
I think, Brian, your issue was the execution of that, right? Is that am I hearing you right? Is it an execution thing?
Yeah, but I thought
that's
totally.
Okay. Because for me, that's what it is.
Totally.
Wes, everything you're saying, I agree with you wholeheartedly in terms of
you're
right. This is what is the intended and what happened in the story, but you can
I
still
bought
be
it.
when you watch it back, it's well, that just happened.
You can still have it all make sense. You can still have it all make sense narratively, but still have poor execution. You can have a perfect play, hey, that was a good play.
Yeah.
You drew it up perfectly. The execution left a lot to be desired. Hey,
you had J.R. Smith in there. He was not going to do it.
You're right. Making a back cut for that is the right call, but the execution of the back cut left a lot to be desired. So good plan.
You didn't set your man up right.
Look, plan, questionable execution, but
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
I didn't pay a bunch of money to go see this shit, so I'm that's
what I'm saying though is, I think they did pull it off. I was totally okay with it, and I'm fine if you guys didn't, because maybe I just was in a different frame of mind, or maybe I'm not as discerning of a viewer as you two are. All right, let's wrap it up.
We
there.
know that's true.
Well, I think you're discerning whether you like it or not going in.
Oh, you think so? Do you think I give it more grace because of that?
I think if you I think we're all guilty of that. I mean, I'm pretty open about that. Of
I think
if I like
true.
some shit going in, I know I'm gonna let shit pass because I already have a positive impression. But let's be real. People go to watch shit they know they don't want to see or they don't have a high opinion of, and they're definitely. It's like going hanging out with somebody who you already know you don't like. It's okay, I already don't got a high opinion of you. I'm not about to be unbiased. I'm looking for the shit you're doing wrong because I already
you just chill with your enemies all the time.
No, but people do actively do shit they don't enjoy for some reason. Not me, but other
or they only go to the things they know they're gonna like, right? And that's okay too. I felt like I went into this one open-minded, except that I knew that people had liked it. So I was like, well, I'm willing to see what people saw in it, but I also didn't feel like I owed this movie anything. So I don't know.
I didn't know it was a musical. I didn't know at all.
I didn't know that
went in
either.
thinking,
I didn't realize.
They make music and they fight shit, and I'm like, oh, this is a musical. Oh my god, Wes, what you done done? I don't know if I cursed you out in my mind.
First we did Wicked, now we got to do this.
I don't know if I cursed you out in my mind.
Wicked 2 is coming out this fall.
Man, I've seen more musicals in the past 2.5 years than I've seen in my life because of you people.
A whole 2.
I used to be proud of saying how little musicals I saw, and now I have like a decent repertoire of like now I can say, oh, I've seen Wicked, oh, I've seen K-pop, oh, I've seen The Color Purple, oh, I've seen Lion King. Now I look like a cultured theater nerd, and
Hamilton. Have you seen Hamilton?
You have to form opinions about it.
Thank
You've
God,
never seen Hamilton?
No,
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
about to watch that.
All right. Anyways,
I know they rapping, but them people have negative flow.
I think to be Diggs is kind of nice.
They do a cool juxtaposition. So, like the older school rapping is done by characters who are from an older school point of view, and the newer school rapping is done by newer school characters. But
also,
anyways,
my opinion of the Founding Fathers is like lower than ever, so I just don't want to see them rapping.
That's fair. Don't do things you hate. All right, what are you rating this one? I am going. I don't know. 4.5 out of 5. I'm with it.
After this talk with you guys, I'm docking this movie. So I'm going with 75 out of 100.
Whoa. That feels a little low. Okay. You're lower than the I feel like the pop culture zeitgeist, which is fine.
5 out of 100. Somebody make that. You want to fight the creator?
No,
At
he
that
said
point,
75. 75.
Well, you said 5. I was like,
yeah.
what the hell is wrong with you?
No. What would be a 5? I wonder.
5.
What's a 5?
I don't think I've ever seen a 5.
5 is just the title card and credits.
Secret Invasion would be close though. That was pretty terrible.
Yeah,
that's like 20. Yeah, I would say 20 out of 100.
They don't even have cool moments for me to be like, hey, but this was cool. Like,
no.
MCU's not even acknowledging that anything.
Thank God.
Series.
Yeah,
all right,
not good.
Sav, what are you rating this? You got a letter or a number for us?
B+.
Okay.
I went in with 0 expectations. The story, like I said, left some things to be desired, but I like pretty much everything else about the movie. And this is the kind of movie I would want more of. Like, I would love to see a more developed sequel.
Hip Hop Demon Hunters, you guys sold me on that too. I'm like, I would see that. Let's go.
Yeah, but let's not just franchise everything. I think the whole point of this is like, hey,
what's happening?
Maybe we don't need to. Hey, look, a cool original idea. Maybe let's not run off with that as an unoriginal. Let's use that as inspiration to say, hey, let's try other, creative shit.
Didn't Wu-Tang Clan do something like this? Like
are you talking about the hip opera? Not the hip opera, dude.
I don't know. It was something where like
Raekwon definitely made a kung fu movie like many years ago.
Okay.
But Wes, have you heard about all the Welcome to Wrexham copycats that are coming out? Oh my God, there's so many.
Is there a lot?
Ava Longoria and the Mexico City team.
Yeah, Nakasha
Kelly Ripa and the Italian football team. And
oh, really?
There's another one out there too.
This is happening on Netflix.
Tom Brady.
Oh, well, his
soccer team.
His soccer team is a direct like competitor to the Wrexham team now. So they deal with that in the last season of Wrexham, how like they're sort of on this
so it's a spin-off
path.
Great.
Yeah, it's like a spin-off. Well, they've done this in Netflix. So the Formula One docuseries was really popular and it got people into Formula One. So they've done it for NASCAR, they've done it for tennis, they've done it for cycling. I think I saw another one recently that they were doing it for. So they are spinning that one off too. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get into some of the other ones, but Cause it kind of feels like
you just make money.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like we like that one, so let's just do more of the same with this other thing that is not the same, but it's kind of the same. All right,
Hip Hop Demon Hunters. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know. I enjoyed it, but anyways, these two guys thought it was just good or not good, depending on who you were asking.
I gave it a B+. Why
you
acting like I'm
B+ is pretty high.
Yeah, I'm saying Savon liked. He said it was good, but Brian, you didn't really feel like it was that good. You're not
forget about it. Don't bother.
Yeah, you're not recommending this to anybody.
Whatever.
Did Anna like it?
Sure, but
she did like it. Okay.
She had the same opinion. She's like, I want to watch Belle. Let's watch Belle.
Okay. So I'm gonna go watch that too because that sounds awesome. If
you're
it
gonna
was
hate it,
than
Wes.
This. I would hate it.
You're gonna
just said
hate
it was good.
It is. It's fantastic. You're gonna hate it.
That's why you're gonna hate it.
You guys are assholes. All right,
Wes, you do it to yourself, bro. I mean, you've had years to change your perception of some of this shit.
I
you have
actively
just doubled
take
down.
what you guys say and I incorporate it in, like I'm more excited to now watch Eyes of Wakanda, the second half of it, even though I wasn't super into the first two. I'm I'm gonna. I want to go watch Belle because Brian has recommended it. I watched Slow Horses because Brian recommended it. Like, I am open to hearing what you guys have. You guys close-minded. You don't want to hear what I have to say. Just say, you know.
Correct. Accurate.
It must be nice living in your ivory towers of certaintude. Certaintude.
It's not that we're in ivory
Certainty.
towers, but
Completely
boy,
wrong.
it's not that we're in the ivory tower, but Wes, you be in like a fucking favela or some shit. Like, I'm just like, yo, B, what is this?
I'm
what is
with
this
the people then. That's what I'm saying.
What is this cardboard box?
I'm with the
that
common man.
What is this No, you are not with the common man. You are
That's
in
what the favelas are.
You
That's
are
the
in
common
the
man.
trenches. You are in the dredges. You are in the. You might be a mole person. You might be in subterranean. just with some takes that's like.
Wipe your feet. Just kidding. It's all dirt.
Just like you know what, Wes? We're gonna take that take. We're just gonna put that in the subterranean box, and we'll open that later. Nah, you be saying some shit, but like Wes, you be saying some shit though. Like, come on, man, you gotta cut us some slack.
And sometimes it turns out I'm right, anyways. So just because y'all hate,
I think your problem is that it's not that you have your wild takes, is that you gotta at least like back it up and get some people to co-sign you or something. You just be saying wild shit with no evidence and no co-signer. Like, hey man, if you gonna say some wild shit, you either need someone to back it up or you need some evidence. But you can't just say wild shit and then just be like, oh, that's it.
I can't help it if the two of you are sometimes wrong.
Who our president is?
Wes, I say wild shit all the time, but I like to think I try to have receipts or evidence when I can. Wes, you just be saying wild shit and it's just be vibes.
I have evidence too sometimes. Not always. This is true, but sometimes I have evidence.
It's okay, Wes.
You still don't want to hear my excellent takes.
Wes, your hosting skills and type A personality are truly what has driven this pod over the years, and we appreciate your contributions. But
wow, am I getting fired on my own show?
But your takes,
on our show,
but your
right
takes
now?
will always be with a grain of salt, and it's part of
and
what
we've
endears
really
us to you.
appreciated your time with the pod, but you know we're gonna have to part ways here.
Look, man.
Is that what just happened?
No, it's just like, no, you can recognize that you're the Phil Jackson of this team, but you shouldn't be shooting threes. Like, hey, I need you to lay out the framework, set up the offense, then me and Brian will go and dribble it up. Now, as soon as Coach start going and start taking shots, it's like, all right, Coach, hold on.
Now lead us in a yoga session.
Yeah, like, hold on. Look, we need you. You're our shining star, but we don't need you on the court.
Haters.
Hey, I just talked you up as the leader of this crew, but...
Haters. All right, friends, we're out of here. Listen to our next pod to continue to hear the hate that I can shoulder to bear. I can bear to shoulder, something like that.
God gives his strongest battles to his hardest battles to his strongest warriors or something like that. And, you know.
Hit us up on @confidently_pod on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. You can find us there. Don't listen to the other Confidently Wrong podcast that's on YouTube. They have nothing to do with us, and they are the fakester version of us.
Yeah, we gotta do something about that.
They're dead to me.
Yeah, they're our enemies. We don't know what they talk about, but they're our enemies anyways.
That's the fake Wrexham show.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
All right, friends, we're out of here. Have a good one. I don't know what homework is for next time. We'll put it up on the socials. See you later. Bye.